For years, fans believed Chrissy Lampkin was just the ride-or-die fiance. But behind closed doors, she was allegedly taking late-night calls from Cameron, while Jim Jones was out chasing evaluates to keep the family afloat. Now, the son who has remained silent all this time is dissecting everything. The lies, the betrayal, the nights he heard the arguments, the day he walked in and saw something he was never supposed to see. I watched my own father remain silent while she tore us apart. That is not a line from a Netflix drama. It's not a rumor. It's a voice memo from Jim Jones's son. And it's now making the rounds in every group chat from Harlem to Houston. For years, Chrissy Lampkin was hailed as the ride-or-die woman who waited, fought, and stayed. But behind the designer shoes, VH1 edits, and stage reunions, there was a different Chrissy who allegedly left broken pieces everywhere she walked, including inside her own home. And now that house of secrets is exploding because the one person who never spoke, Jim Jones's son, is finally speaking. And he's not just talking, he's exposing. Let's go back a few years. People believed that the rumors about Chrissy's emotional involvement with Cameron, Jim's close friend Dipset's brother, family by loyalty rather than blood, were just messy rumors that were discussed on blogs. However, what if I told you that those rumors were true, and that Jim's own son saw the collapse from the front row? I was only a teenager, but I wasn't stupid. I saw the DMs, and I saw how Jim Jones looked at her after he found out, but he stayed as if it was normal. This isn't a fan theory anymore. It's firsthand. Testimony from someone who had every reason to remain silent but chose not to. And now the internet is in flames. The leak began with a mysterious Instagram story with just white letters on a black background that read, "You ever had to act like everything's cool knowing the woman who ruined your childhood is sitting in the next room?" No tags, no names, no context, but fans knew. And within 15 minutes, Chrissy was trending again. But this time it wasn't for a new reality TV comeback, but rather for what people are calling the Harlem House betrayal. When blogs attempted to inquire further, they were met with a voice memo, a 47-second clip without any music, filters, or edits, just a grown man facing the demons that shaped his childhood. My pops ain't perfect, but the way she played him, I still don't understand how he forgave. That I don't even think he did. I think he just gave up. Let's go back to the original scandal to understand the weight of this story. According to sources close to the family, the alleged affair with Cameron wasn't a one-night blunder. Rather, it was a 2-year emotional roller coaster that included late-night FaceTime calls, secret hotel meetings when Jim Jones was on tour, and a string of business trips Chrissy allegedly took alone, but always in the same cities as Cam. Wherever Cam was performing, I didn't give it much thought until I heard them fighting on the phone. You know who they are, Jim Jones and Chrissy, according to Kesha. One night, Jim Jones flew out early to surprise Chrissy in Atlanta, and when he walked into her suite, he found Cam's wallet on the nightstand. Not Cam, just the wallet. And Chrissy stood there stunned and silent. I don't know what happened next, but I know that she told me to cancel everything. The following day, she was crying and shaking, and she left the hotel before sunrise. As soon as this new wave of accusations hit, fans weren't surprised. In fact, many claimed they had seen the signs all along. These are just a few fictitious, but remarkably realistic-sounding comments from Twitter X, not Jim's son saying what. We've all been thinking since 2012 that Chrissy Ben was moving funny dips at baby mama. She played the long game, got the ring, and still dipped on him emotionally. I remember that LHNY reunion, and the way she looked at Cam when he showed up unexpectedly wasn't friendly. And then the internet got its newest obsession. But the story doesn't end there because what Jim's son revealed next took this scandal from messy to traumatic. In the second part of his leaked voice memo, Jim's son describes a memory so painful and personal that it's causing shockwaves through society. I remember being 14 years old and hearing them fight through the walls. I didn't understand everything, but I knew it was. My father said, "You could have told me you didn't have to humiliate me like this," in reference to him and Cam. And she responded, "Jimmy, you were never truly here, and I needed something real." "You were never truly here," that line said. After that night, things changed. Chrissy stopped sharing family photos, Jim Jones appeared aloof, and the chemistry that fans once adored gradually deteriorated into awkward silence during interviews. The signs were all there, we just didn't want to believe it most. The internet froze because, true or not, that's a wound, permanent scar, and now it's out in the open. The next voice memo reveals something even darker that might explain why Jim never defended himself, why Chrissy never got canceled, and why the people closest to them remained silent until now. One commenter wrote that dangerous lies are the ones we tell ourselves just to keep a happy picture online. Jim Jones never publicly addressed the Cameron rumors once, not even when Cam sneak-dissed Chrissy in a track that mysteriously disappeared from streaming the week after it dropped. The question continues to be why Jim Jones's son chose this moment to finally speak. And what does this mean for the future of the Jones family? It changed everything when Jim's son's voice, unmistakably and anonymously, dropped at 2:04 a.m. I didn't say anything before because I didn't want to offend my father, but I watched him deteriorate every year while she smiled for the cameras as if nothing had happened. No, that's not love, that's manipulation. Let that breathe. It's not just about cheating anymore. It's about what happens after betrayal, the silence, the gaslighting, and the illusion. Because Jim was reportedly quietly unraveling behind closed doors, while Chrissy was out there giving relationship advice on reality shows, building brands, and flipping tables for drama. "Why don't you leave?" I used to beg him, and guess who was watching the entire time? And he would simply say, "She's all I got, man." That stuck with me because he truly thought that she was his only choice. People would constantly ask why Jim Jones had never married Chrissy after all those years. Was it cold feet, the industry, his personality, or something deeper like fear that if he let go, he'd lose not just a partner, but the only structure he'd known, no matter how toxic? Now picture growing up in that and watching your father pursue peace while drowning in chaos. Is exposing, not for influence or views, but for release. Now let's move on to the next section, as this is where the story changes. One of the most outrageous claims was made in a private direct message that was leaked to a gossip page by a former Jones family employee. It said she had access to everything, including bank information, passwords, contracts, and she would intercept his calls, delete messages, and cancel meetings without telling him. There were times Jimmy would show up at venues and be told the event was canceled, only to discover later that Chrissy pulled the plug behind his back. If that's true, let's be clear, we're talking about emotional control on a whole new level. This isn't just betrayal. This is chess move piece by piece, until the board has only one king left, and he's two. Hired to fight another leaked email, purportedly from Chrissy's publicist, to a television producer that says, "Please do not bring up the Cameron rumors during the sit-down." Chrissy is open to discussing the evolution of her relationship with Jim, but the Cam narrative is off limits. Why would it be off limits if it was never true? Why dodge a ghost unless that ghost was real, wearing pink mink and a smirk? And that's not even the wildest part, because now Cameron is making fun of himself on his Instagram story. Cam shared a video of himself from an old Dipset music video, captioned it, "Some memories age like wine." No background, no follow-up. Just smoke, but the internet exploded in a matter of hours. Fans of Archer Kamasi began resurfacing a 2016 interview in which he was asked about women in the industry. He smirked and then said, "Some women are loyal to the spotlight, not the man holding it." People began piecing together timelines, comparing lyrics, and dissecting interviews. Many now think that was a direct strike at Chrissy, and if it was, she never retaliated or disputed it. She simply turned around. Now that Jim Jones' son is speaking up, a new story is emerging that places Chrissy in the "She was toxic to us, to the whole family, and right there everything clicked," the son says in the last seconds of the voice memo. This isn't just a relationship scandal, this is a family collapse. A years-long emotional erosion covered in designer clothes and Instagram filters. Let's not forget Chrissy proposed to Jim on national television. She didn't wait for him to pop the question. She snatched the spotlight and said, "I got this." At the time, people called it an empowering, iconic boss move. But now, fans are wondering if it was just another way to control the narrative and make the world believe she was the glue while subtly pulling the strings. Strings behind the scenes, and when Jim Jones didn't accept the proposal right away, we noticed the tension. Involving a man divided between loyalty and love, and a son watching the entire situation fall apart. To make matters worse, an alleged audio leak that was released anonymously seems to be a recorded phone conversation between Jim and an unnamed male friend. The audio is grainy, but it's clear enough to hear Jim say, "She don't even look at me the same. I'm in the crib feeling like a ghost, like I'm in her way." Let that sink in. While all of this is happening in public, Chrissy is silent. There are no tweets, Instagram posts, denials, or damage control. You know what that silence means: guilt or strategy. She has 10 years of experience spinning a story. From hip-hop and fashion deals to love, she has always known how to make herself appear like the misunderstood queen. However, this time, more alleged insiders are speaking up, including former coworkers, stylists, drivers, and even old friends. One DM claims that she always had a fallback plan in case she had to leave. She had leverage information secrets, and Jimmy wasn't paranoid. He was tired and used to say, "If she leaves, I'll lose more than just." The last time Jim Jones gave an honest interview about love, he said, "Sometimes you stay because walking away feels like failure, even when you know it's already over." He said, "Sometimes you stay because walking away feels like failure, even when you know it's already over." That line sounds different now, doesn't it? It sounds like a man who stayed too long in a burning house and a son who watched the fire helplessly holding the ashes. Some say Jim's son is just airing dirty. Others claim that he needed to reclaim his truth in order to gain attention, but one thing is certain. The image of Chrissy as the devoted, drama-fighting, and loving fiancée is crumbling, and underneath it lies a decade of secrets that could completely change everything we thought we knew. What comes next are lawsuits, apologies, and the inevitable damage control that will occur. But first we need to discuss the one thing no one anticipated: Jim's plans now that everything is public. Trust me, when you hear what he's been hiding for years, you'll realize that this was never just about love. Rather, it was survival. Because when the truth finally comes to light, you'll realize that some people weren't merely surviving a bad relationship. They were trapped in a performance, a long-running show where, according to new insider claims, Jim Jones was prepared to leave several times, but every time he got close, something would mysteriously leak. A private conversation would appear on blogs, a fight would be captured on camera, an old feud would resurface, and guess who always had the perfect counter-narrative ready? Chrissy, according to a former stylist who worked with both of them, said that whenever Jim tried to back out, she would suddenly become the victim publicly. She perfected it, crying on camera before calling the shots off it. The source even detailed a specific moment backstage during a reunion special, when Jim was quietly holding it together when Chrissy entered and said, "Don't forget what's on the line." He sat down and didn't say anything else after that. What does that mean? What was really at stake? Money contracts, secrets, or something much more powerful? A version of Jim that the world would never be able to see. But here's where it gets even messier. Two alleged industry insiders, one from a now-defunct reality TV production team, and another claiming to be a talent manager, claimed that Chrissy had a backup plan the entire time, a second life. It wasn't necessarily romantic, but strategic. She allegedly had private meetings with executives about starting her own series, one that wouldn't feature Jim at all, one in which she was the leader, the brand, and the star. Refused to cooperate and knew the literal and figurative locations of the skeletons. Of course, all of this is alleged, but the timeline begins to seem a bit too clear, especially when you take into account the most recent bombshell, an anonymous audio clip that was released 3 nights ago. The voice is severely distorted, but the content is unmistakable. I told her, "If you leak that tape, I'm done." "You're done, baby," she said. I realized then that I was merely an accessory because the internet is certain that Jim's voice is on the recording, and it might be the purported video from that notorious. The 2014 hotel incident in Atlanta that was allegedly lost because, if what fans are assembling is accurate, the footage wasn't lost. Rather, it was obscured by Chrissy leverage once more. But that's not all. Jim's son recently shared something else, a cryptic story without words, just an old family photo that was torn in half down the middle, with Jim on one side and the other side gone. The caption reads, "Sometimes peace comes with loss." Fans are going crazy deeming, tagging and resharing in an attempt to determine whether this means that Jim and Chrissy are officially done. But the truth is that Chrissy's next move is already in motion. She is reportedly shopping around for a new deal, a tell-all documentary where she controls the narrative, and if that's not damage, I don't know what it is, but the people aren't buying it, says Mama Jones, Jim's outspoken mother, in a surprise interview clip from an upcoming podcast episode. "I've been told y'all that she wasn't right, but y'all said I was crazy. But I ain't crazy, I just saw the devil behind the diamonds," she says. Have you ever watched your child fall in love with a storm? He was dancing in lightning, thinking it was a light show, but that storm was never going to stop it. So it just waited until he was too exhausted to run. Mama Jones doesn't hold back. She claims Chrissy isolated Jim from family, making family dinners, and making holidays awkward. Feeling like interrogations, she even suggests that Chrissy threw away letters that Jim wrote to his late friend Stack Bundles. For fans who are aware of Jim's past, that one hit hard. Now the internet is demanding answers, with hashtags like Chewy Free, Jim Jones Chin Chrissy Exposed, and Family First flooding timelines, fan-made timelines, charts, receipts, and detailed breakdowns of when the relationship soured and why Jim remained silent. Even celebrities are weighing in, with rapper Mayo tweeting, "Ain't no real one going to let his family drown in silence, salute the son for stepping up." Remarkable producer Swizz Beatz liked a fan comment that read, "Jim deserved more than staged love and real pain, so what now?" According to some insiders, Jim is already in talks to release his own statement, possibly in music form. He has recorded a full EP titled Red Flags and Roses. And get this, he plans to drop it without warning. No promo, no announcement, just raw emotions straight to streaming. And the streets are ready because for the first time, Jim, he may be finished playing the quiet ride or die role, and he may finally be ready to share his I story uncut, unfiltered, and unchained. As for Chrissy, she has not yet made a statement, but her team is reportedly preparing a formal response. Whether that takes the form of a lawsuit, a documentary, or another passive-aggressive Instagram post, only time will tell, but one thing is certain: the house of cards is collapsing. What appeared to be black love goals on TV is being revealed as emotional warfare behind the scenes, and the people involved are no longer hiding. This story isn't done. In fact, it's just getting started, because for every silence that is broken, another truth is cracking its way out, and we, the viewers, are waiting to see what else will happen. They've been hiding because if Chrissy could have planned all of this in plain sight, what else did she hide behind the scenes? What else did Jim give up for loyalty? And most importantly, what would you do if you discovered that the love you built your life around was never about love at all? Was it fame, control, or just survival dressed in gutsy? Tell us in the comments below, because we need to talk about this. Is Jim finally waking up? Is the son being brave or messy? Is Chrissy the villain or a victim of spin? Let's hear it. Subscribe for the next drop and keep your notifications turned on, because you already know that the next chapter of this story will be even more bizarre than the last one. Hidden truths coming to light, and if you thought this was explosive, wait until you see what comes next. Now that the mask is off and the truth is showing through, do you think Chrissy was ever really for Jim Jones? Or was this all one long, painful performance? Did Jim Jones' son just say what we've all been thinking for years? Is this the end of a toxic love story, or is this the beginning of a long overdue reckoning? Do you think Mama Jones will finally speak out through music? Do you think Jim Jones will finally speak out through music? Should Chrissy even have a platform to defend herself? If you felt even a shred of truth in what was said, subscribe if you're sick of the lies and ready for more. The next leak might rock the internet once more, so unfiltered reality rang that bell. You won't want to miss what's coming. This isn't just drama anymore. It's a full-fledged revolution of receipts. Stay locked in,